Welcome back, guys. Well, let's play what's in the bag, right? I think you guys can probably figure it out by seeing the Autel Robotics logo here in the front of this bag. This is the new Autel EVO foldable drone. Really excited to get my hands on this. Been wanting this drone for quite a while. I was finally able to pick it up shortly after its release. So this bag is it comes with these early orders. I don't know if this is going to always be available, but boy, it's so handy to be able to just toss the drone in here and be able to go. It's just so small compared to my X-Star, which has the big case you have to lug around. But really like this drone. Really impressed with it so far. There's a few kinks I'll discuss that they need to go, that they need to fix, you know. But it's nice to see some competition to DJI, to keep DJI push them along. So let's go ahead and open it up. Now, obviously, I've already been flying it, and then I'm not going to be doing a true unboxing. But here's the EVO. I think I've got like 3 or 4 flights on it so far. Just really compact, a lot like a Mavic. This is, so much smaller than the big XSP, which is a lot like a Phantom. Really cool drone. You just fold out the arms like you'd expect, just pop them in place, and not doing it probably the best way there. And there it is. And you're ready to go. It's got this gimbal guard on the bottom here, which it's kind of cheap, but it gets the job done. The gimbal does, the gimbal and camera does flop around quite a bit. As you can see, there tends to want to aim down, and if you put it on a really on grass or something, it tends to get caught. So you want to make sure on a good flat surface, or have a launch pad or something underneath it. It is a 3-axis gimbal. The roll is actually built in on the motor. The motor is built in on the camera, so that's how it does the 3rd axis. Because you just see these 2 motors right here, thinking that it just has yaw and pitch. Well, that's not the case. So it also has obstacle avoidance. You can see here on the front. These are our camera obstacle avoidance. Here on the front, it works really well on the front obstacle avoidance. Some sort of 3D mapping cameras there. It'll beep in the app, let you know, and you just, as it gets closer, you can give it full pitch and it will not move. Now the rear has infrared here, obstacle avoidance, and this is a little flakier. This works, but in really bright light outside, I've not been able to, it'll just back into me. But in lower light in the evening, it stopped. So hopefully they will refine this some more with some firmware upgrades to the drone. There's been one big firmware upgrade right when it was released, And then on the bottom, it's got 2 sonar, and it's got 2 cameras here. And this is the aid with the star point, which is the low to the ground position hold that aids, especially if it loses GPS, it'll hold its position. And it also, I believe it helps with landing also, landing accuracy. I know that the downward cameras do. If you turn on in the app the precision, if I could spit it out, precision landing, like if you have a tarmac or launch pad, it will note, see that and aid in the landing accuracy. So if you're taking off on solid grass, the precision landing may get a little confused because it's not going to see any differentiation between the different textures in the grass. Now the camera can shoot all the way up to 4K at 60 frames per second. So wow, it's just so smooth to get 4K video at 60 frames. I love 4K at 30 on my XSP, but it would shudder a bit when you're turning and yawing, and of course you're not going to get that now at 60 frames per second. Now there is a bit of a gimbal tilt issue on the drone right now. It's not always noticeable, but in some of my early flights I've seen it. It tends to kind of hang to the left. I know that they got a firmware fix already in the house for that. They just haven't released it publicly, and they'll get that fixed, because pretty sure that that's going to take care of that problem. That is an easy tweak that I'm surprised that it got out with this problem, but I'm not too worried about it. Firmware upgrade should be out soon, and if you're looking down towards the ground a little, you're not going to see that anyway. And of course, sometimes the props, when you're going full pitch, these props can get in the field of view a little bit when you're all the way up, so sometimes you may be flying with it slightly down anyway. Of course, these are those props like the Mavic uses that swing out, lock into place. When you start the motors, it'll rev a short rev to pop the props out, and then it'll go full speed. Well, not full speed, but it'll go back to its idling RPM once the props are opened up. So probably a good idea to go and open them up when you put them down, just to take a little bit off the motors, but sometimes I forget and just go ahead and let it do its thing whenever it first starts up. The SD card that comes with it is a 32 gig, and they put it inside here, and I like that this little drawer attaches it so you can't lose this little 32 gig. It's a SanDisk Extreme, I believe. Let's look at it here. It's if I don't lose it, it's a SanDisk. This is gonna be hard to read in the camera. 32 gig Extreme, really nice little memory card. But if you're shooting 4K at 60 frames per second, you are going to fill that up a little quicker than some of the lower resolutions because of the high bit rate. I think this can do 100 megabit per second on its recording, so that can fill up a lot of data pretty fast. Now, to remove the battery, you press on the Autel Robotics logo here on the top of this button and pop the battery out. And here's the battery. Here's your light indicators on the rear. You can tap it. I've got, I'd say 2.5, but 2 solid and 1 blinking. I didn't fly it all the way down yesterday. It is a 4300 milliamp hour 3S LiPo, so it's not 4S like the XSP. Same Max N brand, but it is 11.4 volts, so that's lithium high voltage. So it's a little bit more oomph and a little better battery, the high voltage one. So I'm glad that they went with the high voltage. The charger that comes with it, I've got here in the bag. You know, pretty nice little charger here. It's a little bit disarray, but it plugs in like this. Here, if I can get it around, and just plug it in the wall, and obviously the lights will go until it's fully charged. I believe it made an audible sound. I noticed when I beeped at me to let me know it was charged. I think that may have been the controller, so probably it wasn't. I take that back. They can try the controller charging as well. I'll show you in a minute. I'm pretty sure that was the controller. Yeah, that's what it was, because it was 100%. So you can charge both the battery and the controller. So excuse me on that. The battery I don't believe will beep. It was my controller. I forgot I had that plugged in. You have a USB port, which you can use, to charge anything. USB, a phone, whatever. But it comes with a USB cable that you plug into the controller, and the controller can charge off it because, of course, it's rechargeable. And it recharges off that also, because it went this nice. I think it's an OLED screen. This will run down pretty quick. In a couple flights, you can lose a third of the battery. So I recommend charging up the controller at the same time you're going to charge up a battery. Now, I believe some spare batteries just became available from Autel, from at least the Autel's website. Right now, I just got one, so obviously I want to get another one, so I don't have to constantly go back and charge this. Now, they rate this at a 30-minute flight time. I don't think anybody's getting 30. Some people get 27. Depends, of course, if you're doing a lot of hovering or not. I've not timed my flights yet, but it certainly seemed longer than the XSP, which is really around 17 minutes. So good, nice long flight time. Also the range on this. That's one of the biggest selling points for me. Not only the compact size, but the range. The XSP only had 1.2 mile rated range. This one's, I think, rated at 4 miles. I know people have done that. People have done half that. And honestly, to me, if I can get 2 miles, that's more than enough, because I'm probably be shaking out of my shoes if I try to fly this 4 miles. That's really, really far. But it can do it. It certainly can do it. So good long flight time. You probably want to cycle this battery. I think they recommend around 10 times. It does seem like it does get a little bit more on the rated, the guesstimate flight time each time you charge it at first. So it's a good battery pack. Usually you don't see that too much in batteries, but it seems like it does affect this one somewhat as you charge it up at first. Now I really, really like this controller. Really compact. The antennas, you can, I usually aim them out. It's got these pivot points that are opposite directions, so I'm not sitting there turning it the wrong way as I'm doing that, like that. So pivot them outwards. Of course, they won't let you bend backwards, so that's what, of course, I was looking like an idiot there trying to bend in the wrong direction. And then you pop out the bottom of here to hold it into your hand. So really comfortable controller. It plugs into your phone through the USB on the bottom, and they give you 2 different cables. They all have micro USB on one side, and then they give you a micro USB on the other side, or they give you a USB-C, which is what mine uses. I believe if you've got an Apple, then you'll need to get one with a lightning cable if yours has a lightning cable. I don't think I got a lightning cable with this. So you just plug it in the phone. Now, unlike the XSP, it does not have a holder big enough for, let me turn it this way, for a tablet, but there's an adapter made for that, I believe, or they're going to have one available. Just plug it in here on the bottom, and when you power it up, it'll start the app. So overall, I've been really happy. The app is really, really nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you the controller. You can hear a fan kicks in. It's got a cooling fan. That's really nice. So keeps this nice and cool. The drone itself has a cooling fan also, because when you land this from a 20-minute or plus flight, it's warm. You expect it to be. The drone's really, really warm. So it's nice that they have that cooling fan on there. And here's the app. Of course, it says it's disconnected. So, you've got a ton of settings in the app, and it's going to be hard to see this on the screen. So let me go ahead and do a screen recording so we can see the app. You see, it's got the map over here. It doesn't have anything else because obviously I'm not connected. You've got a lot of options in here for calibration and IMU and the gimbal status, and of course, as I'm disconnected, none of that's going to work. You got a novice mode, your go home altitude, speed limits, altitude limit, distance limit, which I have that disabled. I'm not going to need any distance limits. Your front LEDs off and on. Your visual navigation, you can turn the obstacle avoidance on and off. You can show the radar map, which is for obstacles that it's seen in it. There's some advanced, downward vision positioning there. You can do your remote control calibration, which I did it with the app the first time and I goofed it up. I would recommend doing it from the controller by holding down, I think it's the power and the launch button at the same time when powering up until it comes up the calibration. You may just want to go ahead and see how it works. I did it, and the first time I did it in the app, as I took off, I was not getting any throttle very much, and that's because I just goofed up the calibration. I used it just in the app one. So your image transmission, you can go down here and change it to a normal, high definition, or smooth. I like high definition, which is 1080p, but you might get a better FPV feed at long distances, I think, under normal, because that's less bandwidth. But so far I've mostly been using, I've tried all three, and you can definitely see a lower quality. I imagine normal is probably 720, smooth is just going to probably smooth out even lower, smooth out the detail. You have your aircraft battery information here, gimbal, and you can adjust the gimbal roll axis, stuff like that. I'm not going to mess with that now. And then your general, you can change it to imperial, which I'm using rather than the metric system. You can set the home point to be U, wherever the GPS is in the phone, or you can set it to be the home point, so you can do that if you want it to fly back to where you're standing and not where it took off. Of course, it's got waypoint missions, it's got orbit mode, it's got tripod mode. I mean, they have different names for it, but I really love the dynamic track. The dynamic track is so cool because you can go into that, and then you can draw a square, as it's showing here on the screen, around an object, and it'll follow. I let it follow my daughter in the pool. I think this will be really handy for me to follow remote control cars or boats around, so I plan on using that. Obviously, since I'm not connected here, I'm not going to be able to show any of that stuff. To go back, you just go back to your camera mode. The orbit mode, I know from what I've seen, I think Dustin Dunnell, his video, the orbit mode is a little jerky. They need to smooth out that as it goes around it. But on dynamic track, as following me, it was not jerky at all. Very, very smooth. I've not looked at any waypoint ones yet, so I assume it works fine, but I've not really watched that. Get your viewpoint, modes in here. Like I said, the dynamic track works just so nice. There's a VR mode where you can put it in a VR goggles and actually look left and right, and that's really, really neat. Something that maybe I'll try in the future. So really nice app. It's highly rated so far. I'm just gonna go back to camera. That's what you would go back to for your standard settings. Now you've got on the bottom here, it's got camera stuff. I've been using the Autel EVO, auto exposure. You can set it to manual, and then you can, I believe, adjust it with the dial here on the right. And auto works pretty good. Obviously, you get a bit confused in late evening, early morning, where there's lots of shadows. But this camera is excellent on the EVO. You will not be disappointed in the camera. Obviously, you might be a little annoyed with the crooked horizon at times, but I'm sure they're going to get that sorted out here soon. Oh, I bumped a button on the back. So these buttons, you've got buttons here, photo and video, just like the XSP had. These A and B are used for the waypoints and some of the missions. It tells you to confirm stuff with these buttons on the back here. So I do incidentally bump these quite a bit. In regular camera mode, it's never been a problem, but I kind of get annoyed. I do bump that quite a bit. You've got your gimbal tilt right here to tilt the gimbal up and down. You know, pretty basic controls on that. A nice smooth gimbal control. See, I bumped it again. This is your return to home. This is your auto takeoff and landing. And this is the pause if you want to pause the craft. If it's coming down and you feel like, oh no, it's doing something wrong or it's acting up, you just pause it and that will just, the craft will stop and hold its position. So I think we covered a lot of the stuff here. There's so much to cover with something like this. You know, there's so many settings in here you can adjust. You know, overexposure warning is nice if you're going to manually do the EV. You know, it's got just a lot of camera settings, which you want for a good camera drone. The digital zoom is really cool. I've used that filming in 4K and zooming up to 8 times. I don't think it's going to let me see it here since we're not connected, but hopefully I can show some of this in the flight. I'm hoping in the test flight I'm going to do some basic flying around, and I'll try to do some dynamic tracking of me as I walk around to show you guys that. Just get an idea how the camera works and how it does that. And then we'll probably do another video in the future where I will test out some of the other smart features. But just in the first flight, I'm just going to do flight around, test the return to home accuracy, and also, if I remember, try to do the dynamic tracking because that works so well. So hopefully we got everything here, you know, the basics of this drone. So I'm going to go ahead now and we'll move along to some 4K at 60 frames per second footage. So stay tuned, guys, for that flight review coming up now. Welcome back, guys. I got the Autel EVO, as you can see, on the launch pad out here. So it's time for the flight review of the Autel EVO. Now, if you paid attention in my table review, I did mention that there is an issue with a crooked gimbal or gimbal tilt of the horizon on the initial official firmware for the EVO from Autel. I was lucky enough to get the beta firmware for the gimbal from Autel. They're actively working to try to resolve that. And as you will see when I take it up here, it does have a nice stable level horizon on takeoff, which on the official I would oftentimes see a bit of a slant or a tilt to it. But unfortunately, at least on what I've noticed on mine, and I've let Autel know this and they're looking into it, because I believe some other people are now seeing this on this beta one, as I yaw around, it starts to really have trouble holding the horizon. It goes a bit crooked. In fact, it gets rather extreme at times. But then very slowly the gimbal will self-right itself, or, you know, correct and come back to level. So, you know, kind of unfortunate. Autel absolutely has to get this fixed ASAP. I know that they are working on it, and I'm going to help them you know, test this beta firmwares until they get it resolved. But it is definitely much better when I take it up and just hold it in a hover. But like I said, when I yaw, and I'll try, you know, if I remember, I'll try to show that, but I don't want to, you know, gloss right past that. You know, that's something that I definitely still want to point out. But today I just plan to you know, take it up and show you how well the camera works. So the camera is really fantastic on this drone. And then I want to do some of the dynamic tracking, have it follow me around here as I walk on the street here. But I don't think I'll have time in this one to go over some of the other smart features, you know, like waypoints and some of the other things that it can do. I plan to do that in some future videos, but I just want to at least get some of the most important things, which everybody wants a good camera on a drone like this, and this is an excellent camera. And you also probably want to use dynamic tracking, which I think is really, really cool. But even the camera on this is exceptional. I'm shooting this in 4K resolution. It's 60 frames per second. So let's go ahead and we'll take it up now. I'm just going to fly it around and show you guys some of the footage from it. So I'm going to go ahead and start recording video. I'll just go ahead and use the app. Got the screen recorder going here too, so you can see all the stuff I'm doing on the screen. And then I'll try to include some, you know, either side-by-side footage or I'll swap it. I haven't decided yet, but I'll definitely also get some full screen 4K footage. You know, that's what you really want to see with this drone. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock the props. You can see how it kind of fires it up and there's a little bit of a stall, and then it goes again. That's to open those props up. The beeping you're hearing here, this is telling me it's detecting some obstacles. Either it's probably detecting this bit of a hill in front of us because I was standing off to the side. That will go away once I go ahead and launch. So let's go ahead and take it up in the air. I'm going to hold the, you see here the launch button to take off. And now it's, you know, it's cleared that, and it doesn't no longer is the front camera seeing the hill over here, a little hill in front of it. If I walk behind it, it should beep. But these rear, there's going. The rear IR sensors are seeing me, but the rear IR sensors don't always work so well. That's another thing they've got to tweak. It will sometimes. See, I'm still moving backwards. I get flat right into me. So they've got to also get those rear IR sensors fixed. Now I have a few times in the late evening when it's much not as bright as today, I've had those IR sensors work just fine. It seems to have a real trouble with the bright light. So again, they've got to tweak that and get that fixed. Now the front obstacle avoidance, it works amazing. So that, you know, there's no issues with the front. So let's go ahead now and we'll take it up and just get some footage. As you can see, I mean, it flies really well. Look at the yaw. That's just giving a little yaw input. So you have a nice slow yaw if you want, or you can go, that's as fast as it'll go. So it doesn't have the issues that like the XSP, Autel's first drone, the X-Star. And of course, that was the first really nice AP drone that I owned. And it had a lot of issues with a very fast yaw that they did resolve that, but it took quite a while to get that firmware out. So I'm just kind of, you know, I'm just taking it around here real slow. It says I've got 23 minutes 45 seconds there of flight time left. I've not done a full time of it, so I can't tell you exactly the flight time, but you know, 25 minutes is probably realistic. You're not going to get 30. No one's getting that. But this is only maybe 6 charge on this battery. I don't know. So it seems like it will increase some as you cycle the battery a few times. That looks really nice on my phone. Now it's a lot of glare out here. I don't have an anti-glare sunshade on it. Go ahead and stop right there. Just take it up a little higher. Let's see how the horizon looks here. I'm not doing any yawing. It looks pretty good on my phone. I don't know if there's a slight tilt to the left. If it is, it's very minute. Of course, it also could be the elevation. Something it gave me a weird downward vision system modules abnormal. I've never seen that warning before, huh? I think it has something to do with the ultrasonic sensors on the bottom and the monocular, those 2 cameras on the bottom. That looks good. Now, like I said, when I would do some quick yawing on the last flight, I got quite a bit of horizon tilt. It would generally go in the direction that I was yawing, though. I am not seeing it yet. Now, it didn't occur until I don't know, I'm guessing 5 minutes into the flight. But I wasn't doing a lot of yawing. Let's tilt the camera down. That should be right down there, and I am. So I'm gonna, you know, this is only the second full battery flight that I've got on the beta gimbal firmware, but it was pretty bad as I went along into my flight. Now it was really good like that at first, but as far as I can tell, and but a limited amount of info on here, and I do believe this is probably something with this beta firmware. I don't believe there's anything defective with my drone, but I can't say that 100% certainty just yet. One of my friends in the hobby who's really good with stuff, Heath Lawrence is his name, and he should be getting his EVO here today. I'm gonna wait and see if he gets, you know, that too before I know for sure, but I do believe this is a firmware issue, and I don't think it was even noticeable in that video right there. But if it continues to be an issue, I'm certainly going to get some other videos up and I will try to point that out, because obviously that's an issue. But most people are not on the beta firmware. I did not notice the issue with the horizon from yawing on the official. It was just, I always have a crooked horizon just a lot of the time. Though it didn't get as severe as the horizon issues I was getting yesterday on the beta. But that was only when I was yawing. I was not getting that. And I'm not really noticing it here right now. Who knows, maybe it's a fluke thing. You know, I did calibrate the gimbal. That's a new thing they also have added to the app. I don't believe that was in the app before. I have the beta app also. So just be, if you got the Evo, be patient. They're gonna work it out. I'm not worried about that. They're gonna get that gimbal tilt issues taken care of one way or another. But you might want to just wait off if you're not in a rush for it until you know they've got all those kinks worked out. And the IR sensor in the back, like I said, is not, it sees me, and that's good. But for some reason, it's not really stopping all the time. And that should be just some, you know, tweaking of the software, because it is seeing me, that's why it's beeping. Really quiet drone too, much quieter than my XSP. Look how smooth that is. I mean, it flies great. And like I said, the camera is excellent. Okay, what I'm gonna do now is I think I'm gonna try some dynamic tracking. I may take it over here and try to get the sun glare behind me. So I'm gonna take it over here, take it up a little higher and back it up. Take it back a ways. Tilt the camera down some. Okay, let's try some dynamic track. I'm just going to leave the video recording here. I'm going to go into where it says GPS, and I'm going to switch to dynamic track. Go ahead and continue. I believe it said I had to cancel recording. I thought that's what it said. We'll see. If it did, I'll go ahead and start it up again. And just draw a box now over me. Click start, and now I'm going to start recording again. Yeah, for some reason it needs to cancel recording on the SD card while I was using dynamic track. Whenever you get ready to set up dynamic track, that could just be something to do with the app. I don't know. Let's go ahead. I'm going to walk forward now. Let's see if it follows me. It doesn't hurt to break up your video recordings like that anyway, just in case something would happen. Though typically, you know, on a drone like this to an SD card, you're not going to usually have any problem with losing footage. So as you can see, it is following me as I walk down this little rock road here. I'm going to go ahead and turn. Let's see, is it following me here? It should be yawing here. It's turning the craft here as it's following me. I believe it's also yawing on just the gimbal some too, which is nice. So far, excuse me, had a bit of a hiccup there. So far, I've been very impressed with the dynamic tracking. Now, if you were to turn around and walk, like if I were to turn around and walk directly underneath it, that's going to confuse it, because obviously you're going to go behind it. You can't back up quick enough if you did it really quickly. Now if you walk slowly, it's going to push back. But if you start out close to it, if you walk right underneath it, then it's going to lose you, and the box will turn red. That happened yesterday. I was testing it out, and one of the neighborhood kids had him run, and he ran underneath it, and it lost him a couple times because he did that. But having him run down the street worked perfect. I think this would also work really well if you want to follow an RC truck, car, or a boat around, which is ideal for my reviews. But if you just want to get some footage of one of your ground vehicles, I mean, this is a great way to do it. Now, obviously DJI's had this technology for a while. This is the first Autel drone to feature the XSP. As much as I loved it, it did not have dynamic tracking, so it's really smooth. Now, I've not tested out the orbit mode yet, or circle me, whatever you want to call it. That one does tend to be a bit jerky from the other videos I've seen online. Again, that'll be something that'll be easy for them to get fixed. It just needs to be a bit smoother in its movements. But I don't see that in this dynamic tracking. The dynamic tracking looks really good. Most likely I got this full screen for you here on the app so you can see. It's easier to see with it following the green box on the screen recording than compared to just the full screen video. Just going to back up here, and now it's going to start to move forward. Really, really neat feature. I really, really like that. I just think that is so impressive. Like I said, it's certainly not a first, but for me it's a first. I never had one that could do that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. There's a pause. You can temporarily pause the dynamic track for some reason, or you can just press stop. And I'm going to go back up where it says dynamic track on the app, and I'm going to click back on camera. So those are the two, that's the only real smart feature I'm going to test in this initial review, because I'm trying to keep this review is going to be very, very long. I apologize, there's just so much to cover, and I wanted to at least include some flight footage in this video, so that you don't just come on, look for a table review, and you get stuck searching around for flight footage. I want to get the flight footage up here. But like I said, this is not going to be an extensive flight coverage of everything. We don't need a 45-minute long EVO review. I'm going to aim it off this way. Go ahead and stop recording. And I'm going to see if I'm just going to use the controller. It's simple enough. Take a few pictures here. So right there, to me the horizon looks pretty level, at least in the app. So I'm going to aim the gimbal up a little bit more. I'm just going to take a photo here. Now you do have to stop recording to take photos, I believe. Take a photo there, and it's saved. Let's go ahead and turn off this way. I'll try to include these photos here if I remember. Overlay them here in the video. Look back towards my subdivision. Yeah, I'm not seeing the gimbal tilt issue like yesterday, but I'm also not doing a lot of yawing. I had, yesterday I was basically taking it up to test that, and I was yawing a whole bunch. Not necessarily a fast yaw, but I was yawing a lot, and it really started to progressively get bad and do a lot of tilting. But it would recover, so it wasn't a permanent tilt. And it didn't do it, at the very beginning. Like I said, it seems to be affected by the yaw. But again, if you just tuned in to this part of the video and skip forward or something, I am on the beta firmware from Autel. I don't know, there's just a select few people that are testing it for them. And I was lucky enough to get in on that. So this is not official. So I want to state that again. So the official firmware to me, it never had that real issue when I was yawing. It just had a bit of a crooked horizon. It didn't get as severe as this one did on me yesterday, but so far today I've not noticed too much. Now that may be different once I take it home and look at the video of the SD card. Maybe I'll notice it more, but it was very noticeable yesterday. Let's show you the front obstacle avoidance here while I got it up. Before we landed here and end this review. Now it's beeping, it sees me. I'm pitching full forward, and look, it will not come any closer. I'm about 9 feet away, 8. It creeps a little bit, but then it stops. 7, and it's not gonna go. I've got it full pitch forward. So it works really well in the front. But like I said, the back, a lot of people are reporting the issues with the back not being sensitive enough. But like I said, let's stand behind it again. Let's see, now it picks me up. See, it said 11 feet. Doesn't seem like 11 feet to me, but now it's 10. That's probably just kind of a guess, going by the sensors, of course. But that one the rear doesn't work so great. Overall, though, I like this drone a lot. It flies smooth. The camera's excellent, but it's obviously not perfect. It needs to have some things fixed, and they're working on that. And I have full confidence they'll fix it. If I didn't think they would, I wouldn't have bought it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take it down now. I know that wasn't probably, that's a pretty good flight now. I've got 8 minutes left, so Now I have the landing, you know, I forget the exact terminology, it's here in the app, but the accuracy mode on for the landing, so that it actually uses the cameras combined with the GPS to locate where to land. Now, of course, that is, you know, it kind of lets you land if you want to manually land it. I use the auto land there. I usually use the manual. It'll kind of hesitate, and then it kind of sees where it's at, and then it lets you go ahead and come down and manually land it. But that's a nice set of assistance that it uses the visual assistance on the drone. So, you know, this is a nice drone. Of course, it's not cheap. It's a very expensive drone, but overall it really works and performs well. But there's obviously some things that have got to get fixed, most noticeably the issues with the gimbal. But like I said, I didn't really see that a whole lot today, but it was very noticeable yesterday. So it could just have been, you know, the amount of yawing I was doing yesterday started to have an effect on it. So hopefully I got enough in on this review. I apologize, this review was so long. I realize most of you are going to skip forward through it. That's perfectly fine, man. I don't expect everybody to sit through an entire review, but it's just so much to cover. So that's why I'm going to break it up even more. I'm going to come back now, you know, in the future. I don't know exactly when. May wait for some other firmware updates before I test out some of the other smart features for you guys. So hope you guys enjoyed this review. Again, I apologize it was so long, and I'm hoping to have some more products coming here soon. I know I'm gonna have the Bugs 3 Pro coming, but it'll probably be a few weeks before that arrives. So I hope you guys have a good day. Be sure to subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and click that bell to remind you whenever I post a video. And like I said, have a good day and see you soon.
The power of the dark side.